Okay, so this is an annotation video for Act 4, Scene 1 of Romeo and Juliet. In this scene, Juliet has fled to go and speak to Friar Lawrence. She's told her parents that she will marry Paris. Of course, we know that she's not genuine in that admission to her parents. And she's claimed that she's going to Friar Lawrence for confession, but really she's going for his help in the hope that he will have some kind of plan to save the two lovers. And it's Tuesday morning and she is in his cell. Remember, this all began on Sunday morning. Friar Lawrence. He's talking to Paris at this moment about the plans for marriage. Paris has gone to arrange it with him. And he says, "On Thursday, sir, the time is very short. My father Capulet will have it so, and I am nothing slow to slack his haste. You say you do not know the lady's mind. Uneven is the course. I like it not." So the friar starts to kind of protest at how quickly it's moved, and also the fact that they don't know about the consent of the bride. And this is dramatic irony here. He's expressing concern about Juliet's consent, but we know it's because he has married her to Romeo. So we're kind of in on this with him, and we're watching the friar try to halt the proceedings. Immoderately, she weeps for Tybalt's death. So, of course, he thinks that she's still crying over Tybalt's death, when in fact she's crying over the banishment of her lover. "And therefore I have little talked of love, for Venus smiles not in a house of tears." Remember, Venus is the goddess of love. So he's saying love can't bloom in a house of tears, in a house of sadness. "Now, sir, her father counts it dangerous that she do give her sorrow so much sway, and in his wisdom hastes our marriage." So Paris is claiming here that Capulet has effectively said the marriage will be a way to kind of stem her tears, to prevent her from being continuously so full of sadness. "To stop the inundation of her tears, which too much minded by herself alone may be put from her by society. Now do you know the reason of this haste? I would I knew not why it should be slowed. Look, sir, here comes the lady towards my cell." Again, this part here is an aside to the audience only. He's not really saying this to Paris. "I would that I knew not why it should be slowed." He's saying, I wish I didn't know why we needed to slow this whole thing down. I wish I wasn't in on it. But then Juliet enters. "Happily met, my lady and my wife." "That may be, sir, when I may be a wife." "That may be, must be, love. On Thursday next." What must be, shall be. And so Juliet here is being, once again, same as with her mother, intentionally ambiguous. She's saying, I may be a wife. Of course, she knows that she already is to somebody else. And when she says, what must be, shall be, she's talking in kind of general terms about her fate. She feels she's already destined for somebody else and her fate is already decided for her. Friar Lawrence says, that's a certain text. So he kind of agrees with her because, of course, he knows that she's already married and her destiny is already with somebody else. "Come you to make confession to the father?" "To answer that, I should confess to you. Do not deny to him that you love me. I will confess to you that I love him. So will ye, I am sure, that you love me. If I do it, so it will be of more price, being spoke behind your back, than to your face." Now they're talking here about confession. Confession is a Catholic Christian practice in which Christians or Catholics who feel they have sinned can go and confess their sins to a priest and have them absolved. And they do that privately, often anonymously behind a screen, and then the priest will tell them how many prayers to do to absolve them of that sin. And so she's saying, I can't tell you what I'm going to confess to him, otherwise I may as well be giving my confession directly to you, Paris. He jokes with her saying, I think you're going to confess to him that you love me. And she says, I will confess to you that I love him. But here, she's talking about Romeo, of course, not Paris. "Poor soul, thy face is much abused with tears. The tears have got small victory by that, for it was bad enough before their spite. Thou wrong'st it more than tears with that report. That is no slander, sir, which is the truth. And what I spake it to my face. Thy face is mine, and thou hast slandered it." So he's saying, don't ruin your face with tears, particularly not now that face belongs to me as my wife. "It may be so, for it is not mine own. Are you at leisure, Holy Father, now, or shall I come to you at evening mass?" "My leisure serves me, pensive daughter, now. My lord, we must entreat the time alone. Pensive means like worried and thinking." and kind of considering, worrying about things. So he's saying, my leisure serves me. No, I have time to hear from you now, worried daughter, worried girl. God's shield, I should disturb devotion. Juliet, on Thursday early will I rouse ye. Till then, adieu, and keep this holy kiss. Oh, shut the door, and when thou hast done so, come weep with me, past hope, past cure, past help. That anaphora, that past, that parallel phrasing, emphasises Juliet's desperation. Oh, Juliet, I already know thy grief, it strains me past the compass of my wits. I hear thou must, and nothing may prorogue it, on Thursday next be married to this county. So he's saying, nothing's going to delay it. I hear you have to marry this man on Thursday. Tell me not, friar, that thou hearest of this, unless thou tell me how I may prevent it. If in thy wisdom thou canst give no help, do thou but call my resolution wise, and with this knife I'll help it presently. So she's basically threatening to kill herself if there is no resolution. And so he says, God joined my heart and Romeo's, thou our hands. So she's making a reference here to the sanctity of their marriage and the religious significance of their love. They're actually united now and they've been bound by the friar, and she's willing him to help her. Otherwise, she will take this knife and help her fate herself. She'll essentially kill herself. And ere this hand by thee to Romeo is sealed, shall be the label to another deed, or my true heart with treacherous revolt turn to another, this shall slay them both. Therefore, out of thy long experienced time, give me some present counsel, or behold, twixt my extremes and me this bloody knife shall play the umpire, arbitrating that which the commission of thy years and art could to no issue of true honour bring. Be not so long to speak. I long to die. If what thou speakst, speak not of remedy. So she's saying she would rather die if there is no way out of this situation. And again, of course, I've highlighted I long to die because that foreshadows the inevitability of their deaths. She says she would rather die than be married to Paris. And of course, she does die through the kind of passing of this plan. Hold, daughter, I do spy a kind of hope. So he thinks there's some kind of resolution he can offer her, which craves as desperate an execution as that is desperate which we could prevent. If rather than marry County Paris thou hast the strength of will to slay thyself, then it is likely thou wilt undertake a thing like death to chide away this shame, that copes with death himself to scape from it. And if thou darest, I'll give thee remedy. So the fact that she's, proclaiming that she's going to kill herself, similarly to the way that Romeo did earlier on when he was talking about taking his own life rather than being separated from Juliet, the friar says, well, that's interesting actually. If you think you could go through with killing yourself, I've got a resolution which is kind of like killing yourself. And so he presents the plan to them, this idea that he can make her appear dead and then they can be reunited. Juliet says, "Oh, bid me leap rather than marry Paris, or run from the battlements of any, or bid me leap rather than marry Paris, from off the battlements of any tower, or walk in thievish ways," this is an important quotation here, "or bid me lurk where serpents are." So this allusion to hell and sin, the idea of the serpents, she would rather align herself with the devil than marry Paris. "Chain me with roaring bears, or hide me nightly in a charnel house, or overcovered quite with dead men's rattling bones, with reeky shanks and yellow chapless skulls. Oh, bid me go into a new-made grave, and hide me with a dead man in his shroud. Things that to hear them told have made me tremble, and I will do it without fear or doubt to live an unstained wife to my sweet love. Hold then, go home, be merry, give consent to marry Paris. Wednesday is tomorrow, tomorrow night look that thou lie alone. Let not the nurse lie with thee in thy chamber. Take thou this vial, being then in bed, and this distilling liquor drink thou off, when presently through all thy veins shall run a cold and drowsy humour. For no pulse shall keep his native progress, but surcease. No warmth, no breath shall testify thou livest. So he's telling her, go to bed on your own on Wednesday evening. Make sure that you lie alone, send away the nurse, send away everybody, and then drink this poison which will make you appear as though you are dead. And this poison, look at this description, her pulse will stop, her breath will stop. And the poison is going to place Juliet somewhere between life and death. The roses in thy lips and cheeks shall fade to wanny ashes. Thy eyes' windows fall like death when he shuts up the day of life. Each part deprived of supple government shall stiff and stark and cold appear like death. And in this borrowed likeness of shrunk death, thou shalt continue 42 hours, and then awake as for a pleasant sleep. So you'll sleep for approximately 42 hours, basically for 2 days. And then awake as if from a pleasant sleep. Now when the bridegroom in the morning comes to rouse thee from thy bed, there art thou dead. Then, as the manner of our country is, in thy best robes and covered on the bier, thou shalt be borne to that same ancient vault where all the kindred of the Capulets lie. So when you appear dead, people will come and take your body and take you to the Capulet vault. And what's interesting is this use of the words, the kindred of the Capulets lie. There's reference to the ancient vault. Remember, the ancient feud ongoing between the Capulets and the Montagues. And this reminds us of that idea of familial love, that idea of heritage, and that idea of identity, and the idea that Juliet will be accepted in death, but equally that Romeo, ironically, will also lie there dead, and that will be his final resting place, as though he were one of the kindred of the Capulets. And it gives us this reminder of the idea that it's the deaths of the lovers that must take place in order for the feud to be dissolved. If no inconstant toy nor womanish fear abate thy valour in the acting it. So if no womanish fear prevents you from having the bravery to do this, we can carry this out. Oh, hang on, I've missed the end of that part, sorry. In the meantime, against thou shalt awake, shall Romeo by my letters know our drift, and hither shall he come, and he and I will watch thy waking. That very night shall Romeo bear thee hence to Mantua, and this shall free thee from this present shame. So once you are asleep, I will send message for Romeo in Mantua, and he will be there when you wake. Juliet shouts, give me, oh tell me not of fear. So she becomes brave and willful, blinded by her love and desperation in this moment. Hold, get you gone, be strong and prosperous in this resolve. I'll send a friar with speed to Mantua, with my letters to thy lord. Love, give me strength, and strength shall help afford. Farewell, dear father. And so the plan is put in place. So Juliet agrees that she's going to take this poison the night before her wedding, seemingly to end her life so that she could be reunited with Romeo in that vault where she has been laid out in death. He promises that he will get that message to Romeo, but of course we know that's not what's going to happen. Okay, we'll stop there. Well done.